Leadership resources from the crib to the coffin.
Tulsa Talks is the podcast that is inspiring people to have everyday meaningful conversations to gain perspective and help the world.
Welcome to Tulsa Talks. Our guest today is Kyle Sullivan. He is an entrepreneur, and he happens to be in the life coach, business coach section of the community. Welcome to the podcast.
Absolutely, man. I'm pumped to be here. And it's even I was talking before we started recording. There's synergy already, and so I'm excited for the conversation. Excited for what we're gonna dive into.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing and your past to where you got to a place that you wanted to help people live better and business to operate better.
Yeah, absolutely. So grew up in Louisiana, and so
What part?
if you know Duck Dynasty, the show.
Oh yeah.
So that's my hometown.
Okay.
And so lived there for 21 years, born to two high school kids. Bio mom left, and within 6 months, my dad stepped up and raised me. He ended up getting remarried to who I know as my mom, and had a good life. It was all in sports was my world. You know, some little boys go to trucks, go to blocks. I went to sports and did sports all through grade school, middle school, high school, into college. And so how did I get to what I'm doing now? I think it really stems from a desire to be to others what I needed for myself. And my dad, I still argue, is the hardest working man I know. Just retired after a full career in the pipelines and oil rigs. And
I've got a lot of family that's lived that life myself, and we were actually from a little town outside of Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
which is southwest of New Orleans, basically right in the middle of the bayous, right in the middle of the small plains.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, so I think how I got to doing what I do. I think I joke first that it started in third grade. Miss Heflin. So I got labeled a bad kid growing up. I was super rambunctious, super energetic, couldn't sit still. You know, today they'd probably say I have ADHD. It'd slap me.
Label you out and give you some drugs?
Yeah, give me some drugs. I'm grateful. I guess what was it at the time? Ritalin was what they were pushing.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad said, absolutely not. I'm grateful for that. But I was labeled a bad kid. I had great grades, bad conduct. So I was a bad kid.
Hey, we're kind of like.
Yeah.
We're kind of alike. Yeah, I was the guy that got finished with his work in 5 minutes when they gave us 20 or 30 minutes to do this work or our work. And then I cut up the rest of the time.
Same. So
that's called a leader. That's called a visionary. Yeah. That's called somebody that makes things happen.
Absolutely. So in third grade.
And is good at interacting with people.
That's right.
Why do you want to drug that out?
Yeah.
Why do you want to drug people out like that?
So third grade, parent-teacher conference. Miss Heflin tells my parents, mom and stepmom, who I know is my mom, said, Kyle's not bad. I figured out he's not bad. He's bored.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll give me permission, the schools were different back then. If you give me permission, I'll make sure he's never bored at school. My dad said, and I stopped getting calls at work, sign him up.
Yeah, let's do this.
And so I did my work, but then I had a list on her desk of things she wanted me to do. Sort papers, go to the principal's office and make copies. I mean, again, you can't let kids just roam schools today like you did, small town, whatever. But she
filled your plate.
She filled my plate. And it was the first time now looking back that somebody spoke potential to me and spoke a new label to me. And that, as I kind of think back, that's what I do now.
Yeah, you help people transform their lives by giving them suggested ways of living that
That's
might
right.
be better than what they're actually or have been historically doing.
For sure. I help people know themselves so they can lead themselves. They can lead themselves, they can lead a team. If they can lead a team, they can transform an organization. And I'm at the starting line with them. I'm the cheat code.
What does that mean?
So I talk about winning in the game of life and business, life and leadership. And we're all on a journey
And it can be experienced in a multitude of
in
ways.
a multitude of ways. And as we're on the journey, we are looking for, as I call it, cheat codes, insights, connections, opportunities, revelation, suggestion, whatever. We're looking for something to help us go further, faster, and have more fun.
A lot of people that are like you and me are looking for that.
Exactly.
And then there's other people that need to be in a system of where they fit, and we need to supply those systems that fit for them and help those people find where they fit.
That's right. And so when I say the leader's cheat code, um, if you need people to grow, for your business to grow, I help your people grow. And so it starts with an understanding of yourself and then it progresses from there. A lot of times in what I've found in business is that people people get promoted because they're great doers, not because they're great leaders.
Yeah. And you need to know the difference because when I used to work by the hour a long time ago, they knew that I was a leader because I was the guy that was outperforming, making 80 hours a week, making things happen, making good decisions. And they recognized me for that. I didn't want to go to work for somebody else, stay to working for somebody else. My plan was to go into my own business.
Yeah.
And I knew where I needed to go and what I needed to do to get there. And that's what I needed to do. And there were other people there that they just couldn't attach to themselves for some reason.
Not everybody's meant to launch out.
No,
Not everybody's even meant to be in a leadership role.
that's absolutely right.
And so I think
Neither are they supposed to be in a management role.
right,
Neither are they supposed to be in whatever role. But we need to find out, maybe through some sort of an assessment
mm,
where we fit and love our life from that perspective.
that's right.
And they had misaligned you with their assessment to this point in your life when you were in third grade. And if you would have bought into that and you would have been drugged out, you would have been misaligned with who you're supposed to be.
That's right.
So how do we know the difference?
I think so. I have an assessment that I can give the link to a free assessment called Five Voices. We all have a voice that we speak. And whether that is a voice of being a guardian, being a creative, being a connector, being a pioneer, being a nurturer, we all have a primary voice. And I think it starts, again, everything starts from self awareness. We're talking about being a leader, being a supervisor, being an owner, being an executive. All of that is great. And those can be learned skills. But if at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you don't know yourself, you're missing it.
Yeah. How do you live fully if you don't realize who you are?
You don't realize who you are and who you're becoming. One of my mentors really attaches to a standard. We have to know what we stand for
Mm-hmm.
and what we will stand against, and also what we will not concern ourselves with. I had a bit of
Recognize those things that are not as important to you because they might not be in your lane.
not in your lane, and I say I'm talking to my daughter about this now. She's 5, and she is the underdeveloped version of me. And so if it comes to her brain, it comes out her mouth. And I love it. And it's funny, but I can't laugh at everything because then that just encourages it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm telling her now, as I do with leaders all over Tulsa, it, everything we say should be true, but not every true thing should be said.
Agree completely.
And if we can understand that and actually embody that, there will be some things we see and feel, "Ah," and we go, not my lane,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
not my thing.
Yep.
Could be somebody else's, not mine.
Yeah. And
And
maybe I could point it out to somebody else because I know it is their thing.
it is their thing.
If
Hey,
we're
I saw
strong enough
this.
community, then maybe we can identify those people that is their thing.
That is their thing and point them towards it.
Yeah.
And then we essentially become a guide.
Yeah.
I really went away from when I first started the business. I was calling myself a coach. I'm a coach. I'm a coach. I'm a coach. Well, the pandemic created a lot of coaches. And if you're listening and not watching, I'm using air quotes. And it really diluted the art of what a coach can be for somebody. And so I'm more of a guide than anything. I'm more of a consultant than anything. Because we are that. We are just pointing in a direction and inviting people on the journey.
Yeah. Ask the right questions. Let them know that they have the answers inside of them.
Yep.
Let them live.
Let them live. And
let them become alive.
Come on now. I had a lot, and I still do to a point, have a bit of a Superman complex.
I couldn't see that in you.
I believe most of what you said. I don't believe that.
That was in air quotes or facetious or whatever. No, man, Kyle is a strong personality. He's a wonderful person.
When I see people who are hurting, I want to save, and sometimes I fail to ask if they want saving.
Come on.
And it really kills me when I know I can help somebody and they don't want help.
You can't help people that don't want help.
That's right. And
that will make them, typically, in my experience, turn on you with anger.
For sure. And again, my buddy, he says I'm like a walking tweet, because another axiom of mine is that critique without connection is conflict.
That's right.
Critique without connection is conflict.
Yeah.
And
I've got a guy that took me under his wing, and I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
He was very abrasive, very bold, very opinionated with everybody around him. Not many people wanted that or thought they needed that. I did.
Yep.
We were best friends.
Absolutely.
He pushed everybody else away.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people do that to see who stays.
Yeah. Not everybody wants a life coach.
No, not everybody wants a consultant.
Not everybody wants help.
Yeah. And that was definitely a lesson.
I do. Kyle, help me.
Yeah. That is definitely a lesson I had to learn because I have a bit of that. And, big fan of counseling, big fan of therapy. Got my own journey with it. And I realized through it that I do have a propensity to try to save people because there's portions of my life that I wish I could have been saved and I didn't have to go through it. And so
but were you ready at every point in your life to be saved? Or how would you have reacted if somebody come into your life with this advice that you
probably
want to
the
give
same
people?
as those people that ran away?
Yeah. You needed to be broken first, man. I
did.
You need to be taken down to that foundational truth that lies inside every person to be able to realize that you have solid ground to walk on so you have what it takes. Build on.
You have what it takes.
Yeah.
And so that's a common core message is you have what it takes.
Yeah.
You're not broken. You just have a gap. There's a desired outcome and an actual reality, and that gap is the path of growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. You got to get over the self-doubt and the paralysis analysis or analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I got it backwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have me coming and going, man, no matter which way I look at it. Rock in a hard place.
Both ways. Yeah.
So you found this, you're helping people with this, and you're an entrepreneur.
That's right.
What has your business journey looked like, Kyle?
The most fun and frustrating thing I've ever done in my life. there are times where I feel on fire. And there's times I want to burn it all to the ground.
With that fire that's inside you.
Right. There are times where I felt I missed it. You know, as a Jesus guy, I was a pastor for 12 years. I have a wild story getting to Christ, and since then been following Jesus for 19 years now. And so often in the last almost 5 years, the point of this recording, July 1st of 25 will be 5 years. And there's so many times where I felt like I was misguided. And I missed it. I was too impulsive. I launched out and I should have, because I worked in really amazing churches that gave me a lot of notoriety, a lot of influence, and I was on a path for both of those things to increase.
They had a lot of structure too, I would think.
A lot of structure,
A lot of ways of doing business.
a lot of ways of doing business, and a lot of future notoriety that I could have had if I'd have just stayed put. And
Notoriety important.
can be if you want to scratch that itch.
That's the way I look at it.
It's not inherently good or bad. It's what you do with it. You know, success, and I think you would agree with this, success doesn't change you. It amplifies who you are. That's it. You know, if you're a great person and you get resources, you're going to have more opportunities to have impact. If you're an a-hole and you get resources, you're just going to have more ways to be an a-hole to people.
Yeah.
And so much of my business journey has been about throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. Over the last 5 years, to make ends meet, I got 2 young kids. You know, my daughter was 8 months old when I started the business.
That's gutsy.
Right. And then we had another. My kids are 3 and 5 now. It's wild to think that my kids never know me as not the leadership guy. If you ask my daughter, like, what does daddy do? He does leadership. They have no context of me in church, like on staff. It's wild. But
you have a strong workplace ministry now.
For sure. See, man, I feel more like a pastor now than I did in the walls of the church.
And I bet you don't lead with Bible scripture every time you interact with somebody.
No. And that is a question that sometimes get, because if people research me, they know my story, or they were maybe even a volunteer for me or a leader for me. They'll ask like, hey, are you like going to come in here with your Bible? And I'm like, no, but if you get me, you get Jesus. It's not going to be, I'm not preaching at you.
Right.
So the journey has been, initially when I started, I was working with individuals, and it was one-on-one. It was pointed. It was very, very coaching. We're asking questions, giving direction. Then in October of 22, I auditioned for this nationwide speaking competition that was going to be turned into a TV show. Make the semifinals. I make the top 100 out of 27,000 people.
That means you might be able to present information in an effective way.
In an effective way. And so I get cut. They debrief with us. It was 5 days. It was like American Idol for professional speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy sits down across from me and he says, so tell me about your speaking business. I don't have a speaking business. And he said, look around, man. You're a speaker. And I'm like, you dummy. Of course you are. You've been on stage for the last 13 years. You've been in front of people for It was like, I didn't correlate that when I started the business.
So you might have benefited by somebody outside being a mentor, life coach?
100%. And
I'm past that. I don't need that.
Right. I don't need that. I'm good. I'm great. And so I came back and I said, I'm going to do 32 speaking events in 2023.
What?
And so, I mean, I made this hashtag, whole deal, created a bunch of energy online about it. And it was hashtag 32 and 23. And every time I spoke, I made a post. 1 out of 32, 2 out of 32, 3 out of 32, all the way into the year, 81 events. Hashtag 81 and
81 of 32?
Yeah. And it was single-handedly the greatest speed of clarity I had. When I knew, and I was really conflicted by it because I have a desire to go deep with people,
Yeah.
but not everybody's ready for that. And
Do
I had
you
a
think it's how you approach them? Do you think it's potentially, most people tell me that I've never had this deep of a conversation within the first 10 minutes of meeting someone.
with you, absolutely. It's your demeanor. It's how you carry yourself. Very, very warm, very stoic. You don't mince words. You get asked a question and you have a breath. Oh, 100%.
People are important to me.
And that radiates from you.
I'm humbled.
Your presence invites that.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get back to you,
man. I'm gonna flip this podcast. And so the shift happened. And I said, okay, I want to move into companies. I want to move into, I made the connection that companies set aside training and development dollars. And what I knew about being in churches that ran like businesses, I mean, people can argue.
I must be about my father's business, 12 years old. I stand on that with Jesus.
So I knew that if we didn't spend the money allocated to a budget,
budget was reduced.
Budget had the potential to be reduced, if not given justification. So I said, okay, these companies have training and development dollars. And there's some really great organizations in Tulsa that have long-standing history and have big bases of clients and that do the consulting work really, really well. And I found a gap. And that gap was I didn't see any of them doing speaking events. And so then I started going, okay, I don't have the notoriety or prestige or authority in town yet of those companies. But what I can do is I knew I could sell short workshops. And if I got in the door, I'm getting comfortable. I knew my ability to speak in front of people would want them wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I would do a lunch and learn. I do a team meeting.
Freebies.
Free. Half of those in 23 were free. Or I paid to go. I would pay for a sponsorship if they'd give me 15 minutes on stage. I'd pay for a booth if they'd give me a video they'd show. I just needed to be in front of people.
You needed that exercise.
What's that?
You needed that exercise to be equipped.
Yep.
And for people to give you that clarity.
Mm-hmm. So coming into 24.
I should ask that question. I suppose that's right.
For sure. Yeah. I needed all of that.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful and annoyed by the journey of the last 5 years. It is shaved away unnecessary things. It has clarified what I want to do. It has expanded what I think possible. We can get into this if need be, but there's some shifts happening in the coming weeks that makes me want to vomit, and I think that's where I know it's on the right track. There's been some things I have drugged my feet on.
You were a pastor. You're a business what is it? Not a business coach, but a
Business
business
consultant.
consultant.
Yep.
So you're a pastor, you're a business consultant, and you're at a place where you're a little excited and nervous at the same time,
Mhm.
having that background.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen to people like you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it does. And it's I see it.
What do you see?
Leadership resources from the crib to the coffin.
Are we competing or
Mm-mm.
are we aligning?
Aligning.
Cool timing.
Absolutely. There's three major parts in someone's life that I want to impact. Entry into the world, growing up in the world, leading in the world. And there's an early childhood vein that is being developed. I ain't shared this with very many people. Definitely not publicly.
If you feel comfortable,
For sure.
do it.
It's coming. Public.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Launch it, baby.
Yeah. So Champ and Friends. So my business as it is now is Unleash the Champ. Champ and Friends is going to be age appropriate, visually stimulating leadership for children, birth through grade school. And the target is the loved ones of those children. So I became increasingly annoyed by the lack of substance in children's books. We're in the hospital. My daughter's born, and my wife and daughter are asleep. She's hours old, and I'm on the hospital bed, and I'm looking up kids leadership books on Amazon.
So how do you lead your children? How do you raise them up? Or how do they lead themselves?
Just leadership principles.
To help your child grow up in a good way?
Yeah. I wanted books that I could read to my child before she could comprehend to start to place those seeds in her life. I couldn't find it. For example, this is gonna be really hard to categorize. We're all over the place. I'm sorry.
No, we're not. We're all about what your business venture is and how you're developed it and how you are walking this out, even in your personal life.
Yeah. So 5 Little Monkeys, classic, right? Anybody watching, listening has read that book or been read that book. What does that really teach? 5 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One falls off and bumps his head. Mama calls the doctor, and the doctor says, no more monkeys jumping on the bed. That happens 5 times.
Yeah, so that's like reactive,
and disobedience.
Yeah.
So don't listen to mama. Don't listen to a professional. You just do what you want.
And don't learn from others'
mistakes. So we're reading this very jingle-like book. And what is it training our kids? And then we're upset because our kids don't listen to us. Because we've been reading this stupid book that is a classic.
Man, people tell me that I'm tripping when I see things like you're talking about. It's not tripping. It's bringing reality into the real world.
Yeah. We do so much in society because it was done to us, it was read to us, it was watched to us, it was led to us, it was whatever. And
we do whatever has been done.
Yes. And you and I are disruptors.
Man, I just love people and I want them to have a better life.
Exactly. Stand on my shoulders.
Help me along.
And so, Champ and Friends, I've written 9 books so far that are in the hopper. So I need an illustrator that can bring them to life. And all the prompts are there, all of this. I've probably met with 10 illustrators. and no one really captures it. I believe I have the person. And then it's just go, baby, go. And so then that's that. Unleash the Champ is going to move back to an individual for individuals. It can be an individual leader, but most likely will be personal growth, where it was when I started, more in the life coaching vein. And then the business, company, corporate training side will be the leader's cheat code. Because my target, all of my clientele sits between 28 and 48. Got some outliers one way or the other, but for the most part, that's the kind of 20-year block that I serve. Most in that age range played a video game growing up. For right, wrong, or indifferent. And we're always looking for ways to get us ahead. And what I've found over the last couple of years is that my friends that know, like, and trust me, that want to refer me, can't or don't feel the confidence to because my business name is unclear. That's what you're talking about. Tulsa Podcast Studio. Very clear.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. And I chose creative because it mattered to me. And it aligned in the beginning. But anybody that's in business for any amount of time, whether you're running your own thing or you're in leadership, you have to make adjustments. I don't want to say that P word that everybody said during the pandemic. You have to make adjustments, in-game adjustments. And so the leader's cheat code will be the front-facing corporate side. Unleash the Champ will be the middle life, early adulthood, individual pathway. And Champ and Friends will be the early childhood and really resourcing loved ones of children. Because you and I, we're developed, we're growing, we're learning. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And I talk to my friends that aren't in this. We will have a conversation and we just think, well, everybody thinks like that. Everybody thinks that you should, teach your children, leadership type things of
at least how to lead themselves,
how to
even
lead
if they are incorporating their
and
self
discipline and commitment and energy.
Yeah.
But that's not normal. And so instead of being frustrated, we're talking about like everything's not our lane. I used to get really frustrated about people that I would watch, and I'm like, you're not doing anything. Like you're just coasting. And then I went, maybe a little bit of my Superman complex, but I went, what if I provided a resource? What if I created a solution? And I believe Champ and Friends can be that for loved ones. And so we have.
But those people that aren't like we are, do they actually want that for their children?
Man, call it delusion, but I feel that everyone that has a child in their life that they care about want them to go beyond where they are.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine from Lebanon. I don't know how far stretched this goes over there in the Middle East, but he said that their greatest compliment was to be told your child's better than you are.
I believe that.
Meant that they did something right and they had something to work with as
for sure.
Their children were born.
Right. And I think that's the desire of anybody that has a child in their life.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. And if I'm wrong and my belief is too high, I'll take that.
We gave it our best shot.
We gave it our best shot. And I have been told often that I can believe in people too long and too much. And if that's the knock on me, I'll take that.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Absolutely.
We are here to help you discover or develop your passions, how you can use them, and why you exist. How can we help you help others better?